What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Life's a Garden. Today's positive, motivational message might be a little bit played out at this point here on the show. You might say it's a little bit hacky to even bring it up again. But nonetheless, to me, it's one of the most important messages I can send out there because I truly believe in it so much, and it means a lot to me. And that is dare to dream. You know, I've mentioned it several times the last few weeks, and I have no problem mentioning it again. This Saturday, February 24th, my band Cutthroat will be playing at the Pub Station here in Billings, Montana. One of the premier venues for bands to play at. We get a lot of touring acts that go through there. Really one of the more obtainable local venues for local bands to be able to perform at, as far as premier venues go. And so for that, it to me is somewhat of a dream to be able to play that venue. You might think about it and say, oh, that doesn't seem like such a big deal. You're not playing in an arena. You're not going on tour. You're not, opening up for a headlining act, one of your favorite bands, anything like that. It's still a step towards that. Every level that we've reached in this band has been just one more dream come true. We put out the CD, we've recorded stuff, we've gotten to play several venues in front of many crowds, sharing our music. All of that is a tremendous dream come true. And it's just one more thing added to the list. I go back thinking about bands I've seen at that venue. The same stage I've seen Zakk Wylde perform, Phil Anselmo, so many great musicians that I idolize and look up to. And now I'll be able to stand on that same stage and enjoy that same feeling from that vantage point. To get to perform our art for so many more people. It's just a dream come true. It really is. It might seem minuscule on the grand stage of everything, but it's not minuscule to me. And so for that, I dare you to dream. I look back being in 7th grade, the time I first started playing music, I don't play music, but the time I first started being in a band, writing songs, writing lyrics, and then starting to, as time progressed, performing, playing my first show ever, working with other musicians, developing as an artist, and it just grows from there. This goes all the way back to when I was, 12 years old, 13 years old. I'm 30 years old now. Sometimes dreams take a while. I've seen my ups and downs in this dream. And currently, I'm at the highest point I've ever been at. So if you dare to dream, if you put in the work, first you have to have a dream, and then you have to execute the dream. You actually have to try to make that dream come true. And when you do, sometimes it takes a long time. You have to persevere. You have to actually put in that work. But if you do, you never know where it's going to take you. And so that's the message today. Dare to dream. Push for that dream. And good things happen. So with that, let's get started on today's episode. It's episode 190 of Life's a Garden. Oh yes, it is an exciting week for sure. Super excited to be playing the show. This is something we've been working towards for quite a while now. We've been trying to get into the Pub Station for quite some time Just never really worked out. Finally, we have been given the opportunity. Thank you so much to Fake News Band for allowing us to open up for them. It's going to be so fun. They're doing their Alice in Chains tribute. I love Alice in Chains. One of my all-time favorite bands. So it'll be super cool to just be a part of that in and of itself. February 24th, for everybody out there, this Saturday, Pub Station. Show starts at 8 o'clock. Doors open at 7. We will be the first band on. And, you know, it's... When you think about it, like, when I sit and think about it, there's been times leading up to this that I'll start stressing out. I'll start, like, getting a little bit of anxiety, like, oh, shit, man, I got to get this ready. I got to make sure this and this and that. You know, your mind starts going everywhere. I have to stop and think to myself. I have to stop myself and go, dude, it's all good. The show's not even for a couple weeks. There's nothing to stress out about. You got plenty of time to get everything sorted out. Get all your ducks in a row. You're good. Just relax. Well, now we're coming up on the week of the show. So now the anxieties are becoming real. You know, it's not bad anxiety. The thing is, when you've played enough shows, once you hit that stage, you're like, okay, I've been here before. I know the routine. I know how this operates. I'm good. But every show, whether it's big or small, and this is a big show. By the way, I should mention, we've sold enough tickets now that they've moved us from the tap room into the ballroom. And I can't tell you what a huge accomplishment that is in and of itself. To be able to sell enough tickets to get pushed into the big room. There are some touring acts, some signed bands that have not been able to do that. You know what I'm saying? Bands that have come through and can only sell enough tickets to play the tap room. And I'm not like, we're not tooting our own horn here, you know. That's a testimony to the fans, to the people of Billings who are willing to support local music. That's a huge testament to them. And to that, I say a huge thank you. To showing the support for everybody out there who's coming out to support us. That's the reason we got that room, is because of all of you showing that support and willing to take out the time in your day to come out and celebrate with us and enjoy some good music, you know. So a huge thank you to them. But yeah, you always feel a little bit of nerves, whether it's a big show or a small show. And I think nerves are good, you know. I think it's good to have some level of nerves because it shows you care. It shows that if you don't have nerves before you go on stage, you've already lost the battle in a way. You're too confident, and that's when things go wrong. If you're prepared for things to go wrong, if you're already like thinking of all the things that could go wrong, you're also preparing for the ways to counteract them. You know what I mean? If you've already thought about all the possibilities of things that could go wrong, in your head, you've pretty much played out, well, if that happens, then I'll do this, okay? You know, so you're preparing. Doesn't make it less stressful when you think about those things, but you already have a backup plan. And it just shows that you care about performing well. If you're not stressed out or nervous that things could go wrong or like you want things to go right, it shows that you care about what you're doing. It shows that you care enough to worry about it. You know what I mean? And for me, it's the nerves always hit just a little bit before showtime. Once you get on that stage, or at least for me, I should speak for myself. Once I get on that stage, once you get those first couple of notes in, once the song starts going and you start feeling the energy of that crowd, the nerves go out the water. You're like, I know where I'm at. I'm comfortable here. We've done this before. I'm with my boys. Let's rock and roll. And then it's just executing at that point. And even if for me, even if there's mistakes, because you can't avoid all mistakes all the time. It's just impossible. even if you make mistakes, so long as you're up there confident, you don't show that you've made mistakes, even if the crowd knows there's been a mistake. If you can push past that and just like move on from it and just continue to have a good show and finish strong, that's what people are going to remember. They're not going to remember the mistake. They're going to remember the majority of the show that was good. And so, yes, there have been nerves coming up into this week. I'm not like stressing out so bad that I'm pulling my hair out. I can't. I don't have any. So I guess I could start, ripping at my chin here. But it's not that kind of a stress. It's more like it's a good stress. Let's put it that way. It's one of those things where like you've pictured this in your mind so many times, and now that it's coming to fruition, there's that anxious buildup. I mean, everybody has, you always have like a grandiose vision of how things are going to be. I've come to learn, obviously, and through time, that you can't do that to yourself because it never really comes out. Nothing ever happens the way you envision it in your head. There's always something different or something that deviates. So rather than that, just enjoy the moment for what it is rather than try and vision what the moment is going to be or what it should be or what it can be. Don't let that happen because then you just leave yourself up for disappointment. Let the moment happen in the moment and then enjoy it for what it is. It's funny because, I talked about being in 7th grade and just being a fan at that point, just being a fan of music and thinking about, God, how cool would it be to like have a CD with your name on it and with your lyrics in it and with your songs that you and your bandmates helped write and your logo on the front and all that, I had a graphic design class in high school and I literally did that. One of the projects was to make a product and I made a CD. I created a band. I put all the lyrics in there, or I made a booklet with all the credits and everything in it. And 10 some odd years later, we released a CD. I helped to structure it in that same way that I did back in high school. I helped to not design the artwork, but to lay it out. You know what I mean? Like lay out the lyrics and lay out all that stuff. I did all that, much like I did in high school. So it was very cool to see how you envision it in your past. In high school, here I am like picturing that and putting it on paper even, and then all these years later, translating that into reality, into a real life CD. Much to this, performing on. I used to do plays. I used to act in school, so the stage wasn't too unfamiliar to me. Still, you still have to fight through that stage fright a little bit. Stage fright's a real thing, and once you've done it enough times, you kind of get over that. But it's like you eventually picture yourself. You go to enough shows as a kid. I've been to so many concerts throughout my life, and you're standing in the crowd, you're looking at it, and here I am. I'm thinking, God, that'd be so cool. That'd be so cool to be up there. I want that so bad. That'll be me one day. And while this isn't the stage of the Metro, while this isn't Red Rocks or something incredibly high end, this is still something I envisioned. Like I said, I've seen many of awesome shows at the pub station. You're looking at the stage and you're thinking, God, I want to be on that stage one day. Well, now it's happening. So, who's to say we don't play at the Metro someday? Who's to say we don't play Red Rocks or one of those awesome, iconic stages? You say things enough, and it comes true. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes, and if this is it, if this is all we reach, if this is the pinnacle, then I'll be happy with that. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop dreaming about the potential, the higher dreams, the bigger pictures, But don't stop dreaming. Keep that dream alive. Keep thinking about it. Keep hoping. Keep all that alive, because it's just cool. You know, it's cool to see it happen, and it's cool to be living in it right now. Went and did radio the other day to promote the podcast, to promote the show. I didn't actually get to be on the radio, but it was still cool to like kind of be a part of that. It was just like a little extra experience to go along with the week. I will say this, you know, I don't listen to a lot of radio. Whenever my phone dies, which very rarely happens, even though my phone actually sucks. Like, the battery on my phone is just trash. I need to get a new phone almost ASAP before some of my trips, because the last thing I want is for my phone to be dying on me in the middle of my trips. But anyway, what was I saying? Lost my train of thought. When my phone dies, I have to use my radio in the car. And dude, let me tell you, have you guys listened to the radio lately? I mean, I know that's like not even the thing anymore. Like, usually it's play your music. You know, you got your Bluetooth and you play Spotify or Pandora or whatever. Have you listened to the radio lately? I mean, this isn't new. This has been the last couple years. I swear to you, and I hate knocking on music. You know, I hate to be a critic, because you hate to be criticized as a musician. But let me tell you, some of the music, like the newer music, let's just say I don't get it. I'm like, this is what's popular now? This is what all the kids are listening to? This is what people want to listen to? I'm just confused by it. I'm like, and that just shows my age right there. Like, I've finally reached the age, and everybody seems to do it, where you're like back in my day, or, you know, the old, the young kids, they don't understand what good music is. This ain't good music. Now, in all credit, in all fairness, when I was a kid, you know, I was born in the 90s, 80s shit was still good, 70s shit was still good, 60s shit was still good. Like, I can still, to this day, appreciate all that music. So, I get the older generation, and then I can understand why some of that generation would not have liked some of the things that happened in my generation in the 90s and the early 2000s, even though I think the 90s and early 2000s produced a lot of really good music. I think we are like almost in a time now where musicians think they need to be very extravagant and try to like break the mold and do something so creatively different, when it's okay to stick to the structure that works. It's okay, like, create something original, obviously. Create something that sounds good and has a good hook and is fully original. But you can still use the formula of the past. You can still use, like, that's kind of what our band is. Like, we still write music and structure music like all the bands that we love from the past. We're not trying to be this, like, hip, new, like, transformative music that's breaking the mold and just doing something totally different. And that's, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't discourage anybody from doing that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that enjoy that. I just don't get it. It doesn't hit me quite the same. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff I hear on the radio, I'm just like, and this is very, very egotistical to say, and I truly do not mean it to be, but I'm like, if this is good enough to be on the radio, how is my shit not able to be on the radio? Now, I know all the loopholes you got to jump through and all the red tape and all that shit. I get that. But in my head, I'm just like, God, I think our stuff is good enough is to be alongside of this. Now, I'm not saying we're, Metallica or Guns N' Roses or anybody like that. But for what's being accepted today, come on. I think we're good enough to be upside of that. I think there's not just us. There are so many local bands here in Billings that are good enough to be right next to what's considered popular today. And that might just be my old brain. That might be my old taste that is unwilling to accept the young generation. But it's just what I've noticed, and it's just how I feel. So I gotta let you know how I feel. And that's it. That's just it. Now, somebody asked me the other day, they're like, do you make a good living doing the music? Like, I don't think they knew that I did anything other than music. I think they actually genuinely thought all I did was the music, which was a huge compliment. I'm like, hey, if you think I'm a musician by trade, that's cool. I mean, I appreciate that. I wish that was my full-time gig. But I'm like, no, it's just a hobby right now. In fact, we're probably hemorrhaging money. We've definitely spent more money than we've ever made doing the band. Which is kind of how you have to start, You gotta, as the old adage says, you gotta spend money to make money. Still waiting to make money. But, no, I was just telling him, I was like, yeah, no, that's the dream, right? Obviously, the dream is to make money doing the thing you love to do. I think everybody hopes for that. But I was thinking back to last week's episode where I was really harping on work and talking about, all the frustrations that I've been dealing with work. And really, the thing that the whole point I was trying to get to last week, I never actually got to it. I kind of just skipped over the main point I was trying to make, and instead I basically just ended up shitting all over my coworkers and the structure of the business that I work in, which I don't take it back, but that wasn't the point. I wasn't trying to just like shit on everything at my work and move on. There was an actual point I was trying to make. And so, thankfully, here I am this week getting back to the point. The point that I wanted to make is I think all of my frustrations, all of my it's finally now to the point where more often than not, it's discouraging to go to work. It's like, oh, here we go again. Another day punching in the clock. Another day going and doing what I think is a huge waste of time. The only reason I'm going there is to make some money so I can do the things I actually like to do, like music, like podcasting, like going to concerts and going on trips. I have to go to... I think most people don't ever want to go to work unless you're one of the lucky few that actually is doing a job that you enjoy, which is the dream. But I think for the majority of us, we don't necessarily go to our job happy to be there. We don't wake up and go, woo, another day getting to go to work. I get to go to work. No. We have to go to work. The majority of us have to wake up and go to work because we have to make money in order to provide for ourselves or our families. And I think I'm just at the age, I think I've worked enough, I put in enough man hours that now that discouragement is settling in, where it's like, ugh, another day. And I was thinking about it. Why is that? Where does that come from? Why is that happening? Because it doesn't come from nothing, right? We're not discouraged for nothing. Maybe it is because we're just bored of the same old routine. Maybe it is because we're just, caught in that rat race. We're caught in that everyday cycle. You're just going to work and doing the same thing over and over again. It's Groundhog's Day. But I think for me, what it is, and I think for what a lot of people eventually, what it becomes, is that realization that we're just working till we die. Because that seems to be the structure that we've ended up building for ourselves. You work your whole youth away. You work during the prime of your life, and then you're told, society tells you, you get to retire at a time when you're really unable to do anything with that free time. You've spent your whole life working, grinding, making the money, saving up, and then you finally get to rest. You finally get to have your break, and then you're really just too old and too tired to even do anything at all, to even enjoy that time. And that, in and of itself, is very discouraging. We're told, you got to save your money. You got to build equity. You have to grow assets, and then you'll be set for life. And that's not true. It would just be nicer to enjoy those things at a younger age. And if you try to do that, if you try to enjoy those things, you want to go on trips, you want to go on, vacations, you want to go see the world and things like that. But by doing that, you're dipping into your savings, and you're affecting your future savings. You're affecting the future that you're supposed to be planning for yourself. Now, I'm on the side of, you should be doing that. You should be enjoying that time while you're here, like in the middle of it. I mean, the future, you still gotta plan for your future, but you have to live for your today as well. You have to find that balance and do both. Because for those who are just planning for the future and just they're waiting to enjoy their time later in life, that's not a great idea. You gotta enjoy your time now. Because for one, hell, you never know when it's gonna end, right? You gotta enjoy it now, every single day. And also, once you get to that finish line, once you get to that retirement age, or once you get to the age that you think you're comfortable enough to be able to enjoy all these things, you don't want to enjoy them anymore. Like, you're too tired, you're too broken, you're too old. And all of that is just so discouraging. The idea that we're just going to work and work and work until we're dead. Who wants to live like that? Like, that sucks. If I can, I plan on retiring as early as possible. That's my plan. Retire as early as possible. Because fuck it. Like, what are you going to do? I'm going to be 60 years old and then just sit around the house? That's the other thing that drives me nuts, is that society, like, it's a big thing where people, it's almost become a thing where working's fun, because then you get to an age where it's like, well, if I stopped working, I just don't know what I would do with myself. I'd get bored. I get that, because, why? Because you're so used to it. Society has trained you to think working equals worth. Like, if you're not working, you're not worth anything, kind of. And I agree. I think you should have work ethic. I think you shouldn't do nothing. You should have to work for what you earn. I agree with that. You should have to build yourself up. You shouldn't just be given everything. That's for sure. I don't believe in that. But I also think that you shouldn't have to work forever. It just drives me nuts, man. It really does. And I think I'm at that point. I'm at that point now where I'm just like in that stage of my life where I'm like, this is it, huh? Like, this is just what I'm destined to do forever? It's just work and work and work and work and then die? Fuck that. For real. And this whole idea, like, yeah, I'd get bored. Dude, there's so many things you can do. It's not that you're bored, it's that you're too afraid to spend that money that you've saved up. You're too afraid to like go do the fun things that you want to do. Fuck, learn a craft. I don't care. Play video games. Watch movies. There's so many. Go for a walk. Go hiking. Go camping. There's so many things to do. You'd get bored not working. I can't think of anything more boring. If your idea of maintaining your boredom is to work, then maybe you're just boring. Fuck, I'd be hanging out with my friends. I'd be going and playing cards. I'd be bowling. There's so many things I'd be doing to bide my time. Fixing up the house, gardening. Fuck, dude, the options are infinite. Dude, go stand outside and lay in the sun. That's better than working. Me saying this makes me sound like a lazy person, makes me sound like, oh, he doesn't like to work. The idea to say, to me, that is such a ass backwards way of thinking. He doesn't like to work. Duh! Does anybody? I guarantee you, if nobody had to work, if the options were, you can make money, or either everything's free, you don't have to pay for shit because everything's automated, robots are doing all the jobs, and you don't have to worry about income because either everything's free or you're just subsidized all your money, I guarantee everybody would pick that choice. If you didn't have to work for your money, why would you work? The only reason people work is to make money so that they can live their life and do all the other things that they actually enjoy in life. That's why you work. I mean, there are people that do jobs that benefit society and they gain enjoyment from that, and that I understand. Or you're providing a service to people that you find endearing to yourself, and you find that you gain enjoyment by giving that to people, such as music. If you provide entertainment, it's a dual thing. You provide, but I would do that for free. If I didn't have to make money doing that, if I already had money and I was able to do all the things I want, I'd perform for free. I don't get the enjoyment I get out of performing has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with the performance and gifting that feeling, gifting that entertainment. That's what I get the enjoyment out of. So the idea that people saying they don't like to work makes them lazy or boring or makes them a piece of shit in some way is absolutely ludicrous. It's crazy. Think about it yourself. Everybody's real dream is just to win the lottery so they can live in comfort and not have to stress out about anything, and they'd quit their job immediately. Of course you would. Unless you're somebody who... That's why people volunteer, right? That's why the people who wouldn't have to work, that want to contribute to society and want to have that feeling, would just volunteer their time. You know what I mean? They would just volunteer. They'd still have the money and they'd just volunteer to help people or to provide some service of some kind. And that's fine. We could still have that. This idea of working, dude, I'm honest to God, I pray in my lifetime automation fully takes over. We don't have to have all these dull-ass regular jobs. Money is subsidized. Everybody just gets anything they need and want and is provided for fully and evenly and fairly. That's what I dream of. That would be absolutely amazing. Let's bring on the robots. I don't care. Bring them on. And the other thing that pisses me off about working is taxes. The old tax man came knocking recently. This is the time of year that everybody has to pay their taxes. Well, you have to do your taxes. You have to file your taxes. Not everybody has to pay them. And luckily for me, I actually got a refund. But it's like, taxes are such bullshit. They really are. I get the necessity for them, but the idea that I'm just paying taxes because they're like, okay, this is what you do. Like, this is what you gotta pay. You don't really get a choice in this. You don't get to choose how much you pay. We get to choose for you how much you have to pay in. If you look at how much you actually made versus how much, like, if you look at your net gross versus your total gross, or I don't know if that's, what your take home versus the total is what I'm talking about. My terminology might not be right there. Whatever you took home versus what you total made, you'd fucking faint. You'd be like, that's how much I paid in? And then they give you just like not even a fraction of that back if you're owed anything back. It's like, the thing that pisses me off, I think, the most about taxes is I'm paying them, right? I'm paying my portion. I'm putting in, you're taking this money away from me. Shouldn't I get to decide where that money goes? I think every citizen should be able to check a box. Like, there's a whole list of boxes that says, this is where your money will be divided up for. Like, what are the things you want to be taken care of? What are the things that you think that you want to help fund? The police, the fire department, road construction, public schools, things like that. You get to choose. Then there's all this other bullshit that you're like, I don't care about that. Like, I don't want my money going towards that. You fucking erase that. Your publicly elected officials? Fuck no. I ain't checking that. Because guess what? I don't think, like, once they start doing a better job, yeah, I might check that. Hey, you don't think the police force is doing a good enough job? You don't check the box. Guarantee you, they're not making the money that they want to be making. They're going to clean their shit up quick. Whatever department it is. Not pointing fingers at anybody specific, but if your local people, if the majority of them don't feel like a certain sector is providing or doing their job properly, if they chose not to fund that, because they're funded by us, the people. We're their employers. So if we choose not to pay them because they're not doing their job properly, hey, I bet you they'd start doing their job a little better because they know the public would be like, okay, you know what? They're doing a good job. They've figured it out. Now I'll check that box. Now they're going to get paid a little bit more. What's the incentive? What's the incentive for these departments to do a good job and to provide for the public and show the public that they're doing a good job when the public doesn't get a say in that at all? But we're paying them. We're paying their salaries. So I think it's crap that we don't get to have some say. Now I get it, you vote and stuff like that, but I didn't vote for some of that stuff. Like, I don't care about mill levy 283. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't know what that is. Just because the public voted on it doesn't mean that that's what I want my money to go. Maybe the majority of, if there's a higher majority that voted for that, let their tax dollars go to that mill levy. Why do I gotta fucking pay for it? I don't give a shit about it. I want my fire department to be good. I want my police department to be good. I want my garbage to be picked up. I want my streets to not have potholes in it. Those are the boxes I'm checking. I want my public school system to be well funded. Check that box. But I don't give a fuck about, maybe I don't care about the statue they want to build in the middle of town. Some people might. They can fund it. Not me. So I think if we're forced, if we're by law being forced to pay taxes, I should get to decide where my money goes. That's all I'm saying. You know what's great is that if every American in this country decided collectively, I'm not paying my taxes this year, what the fuck could the government do about it? Nothing. If every American said, we're not, here's the deal. If we all said, we're not paying our taxes until you fix this, until you start doing this, and this, brother, they'd start listening real fucking fast. Just like I said with the police department, you stop funding them, they're going to start doing their job better. That same sentiment goes for the federal government. You stop paying those taxes, that's where their money comes from. Besides, insider trading and lobbying and all that other really cool stuff that they do. Besides all that, their main funding comes from us. That's how they fund all these wars that we're not involved in. That's how they fund all this other bullshit that nobody's wanting to happen. And the other thing is too, and this might just be my ignorant brain, but if we can just willy-nilly print money at will, why am I having to pay for all this stuff that I don't want to pay for? Why am I having to fund the war in Gaza? Why do I have to fund the war in Ukraine? Why is that coming out of the pool of money that we all spend? Why don't we all have public health care? Why can't I check that box? Why do I have to let you decide where my money goes? When it's my money. Right? The land of the free, people. The land of the free. For all I care, you can tax my ass. And for anybody who does OnlyFans, they literally are taxing your ass. They're taxing that ass. So, what do you think of that? Oh, brother. Now, last week, and I'm talking a lot about things last week, so basically this is just last week part 2, I guess. Last week tonight. Here on Last Week Tonight, that's what I'll just change the name of the show to. Last Week Today. Last week I did my fake Super Bowl reaction. Not really fake, but I hadn't seen the Super Bowl yet, so I gave my reaction to both scenarios happening. And now we know the results. Saw the Super Bowl. Kansas City Chiefs win back-to-back. If you watched last week, you know how I feel about it. Obviously not happy. They are our rival team. Do not like to see them winning ever, much less back-to-back, doing something that very few teams have done, including the Denver Broncos. They now have more Super Bowls than the Denver Broncos, and they are officially a dynasty. Now, in regards to the game itself, I'm going to say something that I probably will regret. I'm going to say something that I didn't think I was going to say, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you the God's honest truth of how I think, of how I'm feeling about it. I thought it was a great game. As far as a football game can go, it was a really entertaining game to watch. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I thought, for the most part, there weren't any bad calls. I don't think any of the penalties that took place were unwarranted. I thought they played it pretty fairly down the middle. With that being said, I will say that the Kansas City Chiefs did hold on multiple occasions. They held the defense on multiple occasions and were not called for it, even though they were the most penalized team all season on holding penalties. They were the most penalized team in the postseason on holding penalties, and then in the Super Bowl, miraculously, somehow got 0 holding penalties. But that aside, I don't think that alone would have changed the outcome of this game. We saw a lot of turnovers. It was a close game for the most part. First quarter was kind of boring. First half was kind of boring. I thought the halftime show was fine. I'm not going to say it was amazing. It wasn't top 10. But it was good. It was entertaining. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't really pay attention to the commercials. That's never really been on my radar since I'm not a child anymore. Since I'm not a woman or a child, I don't really care about the commercials. We had fun at our party, and for the most part, like I said, it went to overtime. That's crazy. Here's what I'll say. I thought the San Francisco 49ers played an overall better game. I think that they looked better. I thought they were performing better offensively and defensively. Now, all credit to the Kansas City defense, for real. Like, they did show up. They put a lot of pressure on Purdy. They made it difficult, and they stalled out a lot of their offensive drives. But I think they strung together better drives offensively. I thought the Chiefs benefited a lot from certain turnovers, like the kick that hit the guy's foot. That put them right into scoring range, and they scored a touchdown on that drive. The turnovers really did benefit them. And I think, ultimately, the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm not trying to take, you know how much I hate the Chiefs. I'm seriously not trying to take any credit away from what they did. Because clearly they played a good enough game to win. But I do think the ultimate downfall of the 49ers was themselves. Case in point, that turnover on that punt really that was a huge game shift. The turnovers in general, the missed extra point, that ultimately forced overtime because the score differential wouldn't have been there had he made that field goal or that extra point. And I'm not saying they would have won. I'm just saying they probably wouldn't have gone to overtime. It would have been they would have strategized differently in the end. The biggest mistake was choosing to go for it in overtime. They won the coin toss. They should have received, because in the postseason, the overtime rules are different. It starts a whole new game. Both teams have an opportunity to score unless it's a defensive score to start the game, which you're already giving them the opportunity to do if you take the ball. If you take the ball, you're giving them an opportunity to get a defensive touchdown, which would automatically win them the game. But both teams have a chance to possess the ball. You want to be the one to start with the ball, because then you have a chance to stop them or force them to take a field goal. In which case, if you go down, now if you get the ball second, you have the opportunity to go down and either tie the game or finish it. You either tie it by kicking the field goal, or you score the touchdown and go for the 2-point conversion and finish the game. Ultimately, if you take the ball second, the game is in your hands. You get to decide, it's all down to you. And that's what the Kansas City Chiefs had. The Kansas City Chiefs got the opportunity to finish the game, and that they did. And another thing that I'm not excited to say, I'm not happy I'm going to say this, but I can't deny the truth. Patrick Mahomes is a top, he's I'm not going to sit here and say he's the GOAT. I'm not going to sit here and say he's the greatest of all time. I think you still got to give a lot of credit to Joe Montana and to obviously Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. I think there's a lot of really great quarterbacks still out there. But Patrick Mahomes belongs in that category. He's clutch. And the thing of it is, and this is the main reason I'm saying this, they did it without the refs, besides those holding penalties. There wasn't a lot of bad calls being made. They game planned really well. I mean, you really do have to give a lot of credit to Andy Reid and the coaching staff. They did a lot. They were the difference, I believe, in that game. But Patrick Mahomes, here's what it is. He didn't have a lot of weapons this year. Last year he had a lot of weapons. The other time they won the Super Bowl, they had a lot of weapons. This year they didn't. They didn't have, the receiving core was not as good. The running backs, not as good. Young group. And they still pulled it off. They still managed to pull it off. The coaching staff, huge credit to them for making the game plan and setting up all the plays and doing all that. But you got to credit Patrick Mahomes for executing it. And he did. So, they earned it. I stand by the fact that I think the San Francisco 49ers were the better team. I thought they played a better game even. But ultimately, they were their own downfall, and the Chiefs capitalized on it, and you can't discredit them for that. It makes me sick. It drives me nuts. I'm not happy about it. But what can you do? You got to credit them. You got to give them the credit that they earned. They took that Super Bowl. So, you know what? Kudos to them. Super crazy to see that there was a shooting at the parade. That's a shitty situation. And then, of course, Taylor Swift and all that shit. It's like, there's all these people that are like, well, obviously the script played out the way it was supposed to. Dude, I can be a conspiracy theorist. That's one I can't get behind. The fact that the idea that sports are scripted, I cannot get behind that. So it's just too hard. There's too many moving parts, and there's just too much to like. I just don't buy that. But nonetheless, it's just, of course, it's like it's just one of those things where it's like, of course Taylor Swift won the Super Bowl. Like, she just can't stop winning, I guess. She just winning. I'm by winning. So it is what it is. And I don't think it was scripted. I don't think it was meant, it wasn't played out to be that way. Dude, look at who they beat in the playoffs. They beat the Ravens. They beat the Bills. They beat the Dolphins. Those are all really good teams. So they proved that it's not a fluke, you know what I mean? Like, they beat a lot of really good teams. All those teams had opportunities to beat the Chiefs, and they didn't. So that's just how it is. That's just what it is. And the biggest benefit that I can say for myself that came out of this is now everyone that's not a Kansas City Chiefs fan hates the Kansas City Chiefs. Just like they hated the Patriots. As I said, they are officially a dynasty. And now all the casual fans, anybody who's not a Taylor Swift fan and not a Kansas City Chief fan, everybody else who is a fan of any other team and is a fan of the game of football hates the Kansas City Chiefs. That's just plain and simple, because they're the juggernaut now. And you want your team to win, and there's times when you root for other teams in the Super Bowl, and then there's times where you're just like, okay, enough's enough. Beat these guys. We don't want to see these guys keep winning. And that's where we're at. So I'm cool with that. That alone is enough of a benefit for me. If they three-peat, I might just walk off a cliff. So, very hard to do, though. It's never been done before in football. I'm hoping that it doesn't happen for the first time ever. So, fingers crossed for next year. But now that football is officially done, we can focus on Denver Nugget basketball and Colorado Avalanche hockey. So, and the Nuggets need to turn their shit around quick, because they have been looking rough as of late. All-Star break is this weekend, or this past weekend. The All-Star break would have happened, which, whatever, I don't really care about the All-Star game. But nevertheless, they get a little bit of break. Hopefully they come back off the break and are just better than they have been. That's what I'm hoping for. And also, we have a laundry list of excellent UFC cards coming down the pipeline, starting with this weekend, or as I should say, this past weekend, as of the time that this comes out. Volkanovski versus Ilya Topuria would have happened. Great card. Let me pull up the card real quick, and I will give you some of my predictions here. I think this is going to be a really good fight. I think it's going to be a really good card. I'm only going to refer to the main card in this here. But going through the list, we have Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. This could be fight of the night. This really could be a banger of a fight. I'm going to go with Kopylov on this one. I don't know. I think he'd probably just win by decision. But that's my prediction. Henry Cejudo versus Merab Dvalishvili. I've got Merab to win this one. I think that could also be a really good fight. They're both technical wrestlers. if it comes to the feet, if it comes down to the feet, I think Merab's, which I think it probably will, just because they're both such good wrestlers. I think they're going to have really good wrestling defense. But I think Merab's just going to beat him on the feet. And I think Merab's going to I think Merab will score a couple takedowns. Because, freaking what's his name? Aljamain Sterling out-wrestled Henry Cejudo, and Merab and Sterling are fighting partners. Jeff Neal versus Ian Gary. This dude, there's so many good fights. This could be fight of the night too. This could be a banger. Jeff Neal is always down to bang, and Ian Gary is just a really, really technically great fighter. I'm gonna have to go with Ian Gary on this one. I think he wins it by TKO. And then we got Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. Tough one here. This is a tough one. Whittaker is getting up there in age. He has proven that I'm not going to say he's got a soft chin, but power shots do affect him pretty good. That's how he lost his last fight. And Paulo Costa has a lot of power. Now, the two things I got to say about this are Paulo Costa has not fought in a long time. Like, he's had a very extended break. I do think he's still very dangerous. But I think that ring rust is going to come into play. Whittaker's been more active. And the main thing is, I have to look at the fight with Costa and Rockhold. Luke Rockhold, when he fought Costa, was not in great shape at all. He was not... he's been on the downswing of his fighting career. So he wasn't at the prime that he used to be at. And they went the distance. Costa ultimately still won. But for him to take him the distance, I think the only way Robert Whittaker loses this fight is if he gets TKO'd. So if Whittaker can go the distance, I think he will outstrike him and be more technical and be able to beat Costa. So I'm taking Whittaker by decision. And then we got Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. You know, sometimes you watch those embeddeds, you watch the countdowns, you watch all the lead-ups to the fights, and they do a very good job of convincing you how close of a matchup this is. And no discredit to Ilia Topuria. I think he's a very talented fighter. He's won a lot of, like, his fight versus Josh Emmett he did a great job. You know, that's a tough guy to fight. Bryce Mitchell, he beat Bryce Mitchell, who's a wrestler. Ilya's very well-rounded. He's got good wrestling. He's got good striking. He's strong. He's got power. But he just doesn't have I don't think he has the experience yet. I think he's getting thrown into the fire here a little bit. I'm a big Volkanovski fan, so it's hard for me to vote against him. I'm just being honest. These are my thoughts here. Now, Volkanovski's getting up there in age too. Dude, the press conference where he dressed like an old man was absolutely hilarious. He's playing into the thing. I think his confidence is through the roof. Obviously, Topuria's confidence is super high, but I think it's false bravado. Where Volk he knows what he can do. He's proven what he can do. I think his confidence is legit. Where I think Topuria's confidence is a little bit misleading. I think his confidence is a little bit it's more in his head. And it's funny that they make the Conor McGregor comparisons. It really, really does seem like he's trying to copy Conor in a lot of the ways. In a lot of his the way he talks and the things he says. Yeah, I think he's trying to be that Conor character, and it almost seems like his mind isn't in the right space in some ways. When you look at what Volkanovski's done, I mean, the guy has beaten Max Holloway 3 times. He's beaten Jose Aldo, one of the greatest featherweights of all time. He's beaten Brian Ortega and Yair Rodriguez and Korean Zombie, all very talented fighters. 2 of them young, very talented fighters. And he took Islam Makhachev, the lightweight champion of the world, much bigger than him. He took him to the distance and damn near won that fight and made him look. He beat him up. Topuria is a lot smaller than Islam. I just think and I trust in Volk. I trust in Volk's confidence. I trust in his preparation. And I think he wants a bounce back. Obviously, I'm taking Volkanovski. And I'm actually going to take him by TKO. Although, you know what? A lot of Volk's fights go to the distance. But his last few he's TKO'd him. So I think he's looking for a statement. I'm going to go Volkanovski by TKO. And you know, any single one of these predictions, fighting is so hard to predict. And it only takes one punch. So anything's possible. But those are my predictions. That's how I think the fights are going to play out. And I just hope, I'm really hopeful for Volkanovski to win this fight, because Ilia Topuria, he needs to be humbled a little bit. I think he's a little bit, he's trying to be that Conor character too much, and I think it's going to pay detriment to him. So, we will see. Fights are tonight as of the recording of this. Monday we will know the results. So, hope you guys enjoyed the fights. And make sure to come out and see my band Cutthroat this weekend, opening up for Fake News, who is doing their Alice in Chains tribute. February 24th, Pub Station. Show starts at 8 o'clock. So be there. It's going to be a great time. We're so excited. We've prepared so hard for this. We're going to put on a great show for you guys. And so, with that, I will say goodbye. Dare to dream, guys. Dare to dream. Trust me, take my advice, if anything. If there's anything you've ever taken my advice on, or anything you've listened to me on, this is actually the one thing I've proven to be able to that I've been able to listen to my own words and do, is listen to my dreams, and dream and accomplish that. So, take my advice on this. Dream big, and push forward to those dreams. Fuck taxes. Fuck working, just dream. And with that, don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it. You've got